Hi, everyone. This is Danielle. I'm the GM of the Meltano team. Today's group conversation is going to focus on what we're building over here at Meltano. For those of you who have access to the agenda, there's some great links in there. We do have a separate website from GitLab, so you might want to check that out, as well as there's a video presentation that Giannis did at Commit in London. So we'll get started with questions. Feel free to throw more in as we go. Anthony, would you like to verbalize your first question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So my question was, I guess, how does Meltano fit in GitLab's vision of being a single application, given that it has a different name and I imagine a different login credentials? How does it fit within that vision?
Well, the truth is, I'm not sure if it does fit yet. I think it would be really cool if it turned out that it fit, if we were able to build something that we could then integrate back into GitLab. But at least right now, we're running it as a separate entity. We're all employees, is part of GitLab, but we're kind of running it like a startup within the company. So I think what would be really amazing is if you imagine down the road, say GitLab decided, we really want to add analytics. We want to acquire a company. We should be looking at Meltano versus all the other possible options. Like, what is the best possible option for GitLab users? And our goal is to get to the point where we are that best option, if that comes to pass. And then if that never comes to pass, we just want to build a great product experience based on our own goals.
Okay, so it's at the moment a separate sort of different vision, affiliation more than anything with GitLab.
Yeah, I would say the big overlap is probably more around the GitLab values. I guess we maybe could have had different ones, but when you look at how well values and process work for GitLab, and since we're working remote, we just feel like we're kind of lucky to get to take and learn from all of that. So pretty strong overlap there. I think if anybody on the GitLab team or on the Meltano team were to go like work in another part of GitLab, they would still fit in quite a bit in terms of kind of those other asks. So I think that's more where you see the overlap is like on the internal side.
Okay, cool.
Thanks for the question. I think you have a second question.
Yeah, well. It's just, when will you begin to monetize? So at the moment, it seems like it's free.
Yeah, so it's free right now. I would love to monetize. I love making money, but I think the reality is right now, we don't necessarily offer quite enough value to make that request of the user. So kind of two major things. One is just getting some sense of basic product market fit. And that'll really just come from having enough users and enough, not just coming kicking the tires, but like coming and saying, okay, I need this every day to run my business. And then I think we have to do something for them that kind of differentiates us a little bit. So one example of what we're working on right now is for each of the data sources that we support, if you think of all the tools that are out there, like Google Analytics or Facebook ads or Stripe or whatever, if you use one of those services, when you log in, try to give you some basic analytics. So what we need to do is when you log into Meltano, we should replicate that experience so that all of your basic analytics are in one place across all these sources. That would be something, for example, where someone would say, wow, I am currently making a spreadsheet to pull all this together. But now if you do that for me, that's saving me time. As soon as we save them time, that's a place where we can start to ask for money. So we just need to see those opportunities. We're not quite there yet.
Okay, well, that's cool. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you for the questions. Mikkel, I think you're up next.
Yeah, so I'm going to follow suit here. So what are the next steps for Meltano right now?
Yeah, so I think getting to product market fit is the most important next step. I mean, what do they say? Something, profit. No, we need to get to product market fit. And product market fit isn't something that you necessarily keep. It's something you can kind of get an initial sense like, okay, we're creating some value. Then maybe when you try to attract more users and you discover like, okay, actually that fit is very tenuous. We need to do some more things to maintain it, to go to a broader audience. So we're kind of going to be doing that iterative set of steps where we make the product better, we go get more people. They tell us things that are missing, we make the product better, we go get more people. At some point we'll have enough users where that product market fit will be more defensible. Monetization comes right around there. Probably monetization's tricky, probably will be pretty experimental, probably be pretty low prices. And then I think the long vision would be eventually having an enterprise product experience, just for the companies that are bigger and more sophisticated and maybe want to do more what people are calling data ops, but I think we're pretty far from that. So that's like where you would see machine learning, orchestration, automation, like CI/CD for data. And that's maybe also where the integration story with GitLab happens. But I mean, now we're talking about 3-5 year picture. So in the immediate term, I really just think about getting product market fit and feeling like I'm confident that we could ask people for money. Those are the two major next steps for us, which Anthony kind of alluded to in his questions as well.
Thanks. So I'm just going to
welcome.
follow suit with another question here. So how does Meltano differentiate from other tools in the same space? And I will actually add something here. So what is the unfair advantage that it has right now?
Well, right now, I don't think we're differentiated or have an unfair advantage. Honestly, I mean, one thing we have is that we're free, but I don't know that that's really to the user necessarily a huge differentiation, since the reason we're free is that we don't offer a great enough unit of value. If we're able to stay free or very cheap over the long term, that would actually be a differentiation point, just because from what we've seen, the other tools out there, once you start using them at any major scale, they start to get really expensive. I think open source can be a differentiator for us, although I think for the target we're focused on right now, which is the startup founder, I'm not sure if they care quite as much. But over the long term, when we start to think about enterprise, that can have some really awesome advantages for us. So, and we're still shipping everything as open source, even though we're focused on the hosted experience. So I think there's going to be some great benefits there. I think right now we're just trying to get to parity at a very basic level with other tools. And so I'm just being honest. I think that it's difficult to differentiate in this space. I mean, everyone on this call has probably used many different analytics tools. There's just I don't know if you're familiar with these ideas of like Lumascapes. It's this big slide that's like a graphic trying to show all the logos of all the different companies in a space. The Lumascape for analytics is massive and it's fragmented. So I think right now we're just trying to kind of get in the game in terms of, hey, if you connect some data sources, you'll get some immediate value. And that's kind of where we have to build from. So fortunately, I don't have a better answer for you than that. But I think we have a clear line of sight of what that would look like. So we can build more differentiation after the product market fit. Giannis, would you like to verbalize your question?
Yeah. So what's the target for the end-to-end experience?
Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar, the kinds of data sources we support now are very geared towards like a sales and marketing funnel. So you could imagine connecting Google Analytics, and that gives you your web traffic, connecting maybe Google ads and Facebook ads. So you're getting your paid channels that you're driving traffic through, connecting Salesforce. So you're getting all your data on the leads that you're generating from that traffic, and then getting Stripe in there so you could actually track revenue. The end-to-end experience that the user really wants to have eventually is some kind of insight, right? They want to come to some conclusion that's going to let them make their business be better. It's not to just see these graphs and charts, like that's cool. What they really want is, oh, wow, now that I can see this all together in one place, I can see that Facebook ads are performing 2 times better than Google ads. And like, I should spend more of my budget there. And those are the kind of insights that they arrive at through analysis in other tools or in spreadsheets today. But the experience of being able to query across these different data from different sources and come to some conclusion, or even just to ask better questions, right? So maybe the conclusion isn't the important part, but it's more, hey, I'm really having a hard time seeing my cost of customer acquisition clearly across different channels. I want to be able to make a dashboard where I can then come back, log back into Meltano and see how that changes over time. And ultimately, why do people look at data? It's generally so they can make decisions. We're going to know we're successful when someone says, yeah, I connected all my data sources to Meltano and that was cool. But what was really powerful was I realized I needed to do X in my business. And then I went and did X and the business got better. That's what winning for the customer. It's not just, hey, do the steps that we want you to do. It's the things that happen beyond Meltano that really matter. Sam.
All right, I'm unmuted now. Thanks for the slides, Danielle. These are great. It's exciting to see where Meltano is today versus a couple months ago. So I had a question on this. There's a lot of different data products out there in the market. Who are the specific users you're targeting? Are these more sophisticated data scientists? Are they people using a self-service BI tool today? Is it someone else?
This is a great question because we really struggled with this. So back in, I want to say late October, early November, we decided to narrow our focus to one persona, which is actually we're calling it the startup founder persona. They could be a not founder, but the idea is it's one person by themselves who needs to set up an analytics stack and is probably not technical enough to self-host, for example, which is why we started offering hosted instances. So that is our focus, is that startup founder, kind of do-it-yourselfer who doesn't have, the budget for an analyst and might not have those skills. Meltano can be really powerful for other types of users, but we just found that in terms of getting to market and making someone successful, that was the user that we were the most likely to be able to serve for now. There are a lot of data products out there. I think the interesting thing for us is we wanted to do something that's like very bottoms up in terms of offering something free. And if you think about Innovator's Dilemma, trying to come in with something that kind of undercuts some of the existing market. And it was really difficult to do that for the data scientist or the more technical user. Long term, we'd love to serve those people, but good news is there's probably about 100,000 people easily reachable in our persona now that we're just trying to find and make successful. So that's our focus for the probably next couple of years.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. Just to let everyone know, we are at the end of the written questions. If you do have a question, it'd be fine to shout it out and we can type it up. Otherwise, what I would love to ask, if I can make a request of you, is since we are focused on startup founders and we're all working at a startup, I'm sure people who either work at or have started small companies that would really benefit from a free analytics solution. I would be personally super happy to chat with them. You can even just introduce them to me. We would love to kind of give them an amazing hands-on kind of valet type experience where we set everything up for them and get their data sources connected and get them some great dashboards. We are set up in a really great way to do that now. We've got a really great repeatable process for onboarding folks. So if you know anyone you think would benefit, please send them my way or to anyone on the team. We also have a Meltano Slack channel inside GitLab, as well as a public Meltano Slack instance. So if you want community, that's another great place. And if you want to use Meltano for your own work, we can also get instances set up for you. So all that is available to you. We're here to be resources. On the call, I think I've got most of my team. I see Mikkel, Dawa, Giannis, Derek. I don't know. I think there's more folks on here. Maybe Ben is around, but Ben does a lot of the calls with me. So don't be strangers. We'd really love to have you as users.
Danielle, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
I was just curious. So, one of GitLab's competitive advantages, well, I guess one of the things that set us apart was the bet that Sid made on Kubernetes a while back. So just in relation to new technology, is there any new technology happening in the data analytics world that would allow Meltano to kind of start to build from the ground up based on that technology to separate it from existing data platforms?
Yeah. I'm not sure if this is the direct answer to your question, but what I would say is we've tried to pick best in class tools that are under the hood with Meltano. And in the beginning, when we were less focused on the startup founder and we were more focused on self-hosted and more technical users, we got a lot of praise for choosing tools like dbt and Airflow. And these are all kind of invisible to the users we're focused on now because they don't necessarily care. But I do think picking world-class tools that are really popular in the data world makes it easier to be adopted by other types of users. I don't feel like we've quite made the same level of bet that had to be made on Kubernetes in terms of the things that we've chosen are already acknowledged to be fairly like mainstream or standard. So I don't think we've quite as much of a risk. I think our opportunity is more about creating an integrated experience so that people don't have to go and build their own data tech stack, especially when they're not specialized. So it's a little bit of a different differentiation, but it will be interesting down the road. We may have those opportunities, especially with regard to machine learning or other things. I don't think we've really been presented with the opportunity to take a bet like that, but we should definitely be looking for those technological bets.
Do you mind if I add something,
Please.
Danielle?
I would love it.
I think maybe you're kind of underestimating how much we're already doing because it's so natural to you. Like, of course we're using Apache Airflow. Of course we're using Singer tabs and targets. Of course we're using dbt and Jupyter notebooks. Of course, we made our own modeling layer. Those are, so I think there's a lot of bets that we're making, and what we're betting on is that the data lifecycle will become open source. But that's no way a foregone conclusion. Singer taps and targets is like the only open source export technology you can now use. And fewer than 5%, maybe fewer than 1% of the people doing big data are using it today. So we're definitely placing a bunch of bets. And so these, the things I just mentioned are on the homepage of Meltano, also looking at maybe Delta Lakes in the future. But for now, Postgres is doing everything. And the only thing we're doing ourselves is the UI, just like GitLab, always own the UI, and Meltano model, which is a modeling language, which right now we deprecated. We removed a lot of stuff from Meltano to keep it simple. But Singer taps and targets is a big bet.
Thanks, Sid. Really appreciate how good you are at selling all the underlying tech. For those who maybe don't know, the originator of this project, I believe it was originally kind of a skunkworks or a passion project of his, so he knows a ton about how Meltano was built. So thanks for that, Sid.
Welcome.
Emily, it looks like you have a comment as well. Would you like to verbalize that?
Yeah, happy to, and then I'll finish typing it. I'll also add that I think the premise of a data warehouse is still pretty new. Like Redshift only happened in 2013, maybe, and you know Snowflake is building on top of that. But the idea that it's you've got data warehouses that are that are optimized for columnar-based analyses, and that makes storage not where your organization is spending its money is pretty revolutionary. And so, and I think that's a core assumption that you have access to those things is a core assumption built into the whole data life cycles that you have all that data. So I'd highlight too that that's something that's baked into all of these conversations.
Thanks, Emily. Appreciate that. It's a great point. I'll make one final invitation if anyone has any last questions. Oh, I just want to highlight what Michael has said in the chat, mostly because I want to reinforce it to anyone who wasn't listening before. So Michael's got some startup founders in his co-working space. He's going to ask to sign up. If anyone else wanted to do something like that in the spaces they're working, that's a really great thing. And we'd be really happy to help them. They can sign up on the website or you can introduce them to us either way, and we'll make it awesome for them. And I think it's a great suggestion, Michael, to reach out to other GitLabbers and co-working spaces. We can definitely do that. Cool. Well, I want to kind of stick with the format here, which is asking for too many times. Really appreciate everyone joining us today. Please give Meltano a try and looking forward to the next group conversation.